Welcome to Masterclass series, and my name is R.K Mashauri. Today's topic is very interesting because we're talking about handling the media. And I am with Azim Jamal. Azim, handling the media, it may be mainstream media, like TV, newspapers, but also nowadays we have social media. In a situation whereas you have to respond to a journalist, maybe the TV journalist or a newspaper, what are the basics that you have to observe before? I know you do a lot on the same space.
Well, I think the issue is depending on what the purpose is of the interview, whether you're trying to do damage control, or you're trying to minimize a problem, is that the issue, or are you trying to talk about a new launch that you're doing? But regardless of what you're doing with media, your main purpose is that you are acting, behaving, saying in alignment with your brand.
Okay.
So you have a brand, you have a personal brand, you have a company brand. And that brand has to be communicated in many different ways in everything you do. Everything you do has to align to your brand. Your interaction with the journalist, your interaction with your customer, your communication to the public, your communication to the media, your communication to everybody else has to align to the brand in which you are. And if everything that you do aligns with the brand gets reinforced. And every time you do something that contradicts the brand, your brand gets diminished. So talking to the media is basically ensuring that whatever you're saying, communicating, body language, everything else conveys something that aligns with your brand.
In critical situations, maybe this is applicable if everything is calm, it's cool. But sometimes when there's a crisis, even the media itself becomes so pushy, hashy, they follow you through, especially when there is an issue and they need you to clarify, to explain. And sometimes you may get tempered and you can even go diverge from your brand. How is it emotionally easy to get settled? And what should somebody do in order to make sure that it doesn't get off the line in accordance to his or her brand?
So let's take an example of Jose Mourinho with Chelsea. I mean, he's the winner in many competitions, he's done well in his life, and now he's got a crisis at Chelsea. They're not doing well, they're losing so many games. And he's losing his cool as well. Once in a while, he doesn't go to the media because he's so upset with things, right? But if you look at his latest ways, engaging with the media by saying, yes, we are doing poorly, but I'm not going to be fired. Because I'm one of the best in the world. There are other managers who may be as good as me, but they're not better than me. So the Chelsea, why would they fire me? I have my heart in the game, and so they won't fire me. I mean, at least that's his message to the media. He's saying, yes, we're not doing too well this year, but we'll still make the top four. And they asked him, are you going to win the championship? He said, only Tom Cruise can make Mission Impossible. But I don't think we can do Mission Impossible. So winning might be difficult because we have really had a very poor start. But top four is still a possibility, right?
Okay.
So he's communicating in a way that is realistic. He's not saying we will now win the championship by 20 points because it's like stupid, right? But he has his way of keeping the media, engaged and entertained, while of course he's struggling in the way that things are going, right? So things happen in life, but if you look at overall after so many years of success, one blip doesn't make a manager bad, right?
And what if you're caught in surprise? The areas whereas you're demanded to speak to the media and you didn't have a clue, but you have to engage the media. And even if you don't respond, then they report that you didn't want to speak to media. In such scenarios, what should be the best approach?
So I give you an example. Recently there was an election in Canada for the Prime Minister. Okay, and Justin Trudeau, if you look at all the debates, everything, he always stuck to one thing. He stuck on the economy. He said we'll have a deficit, but we'll get the economy rolling. We'll spend money on restructuring and all that, right? So he had one message, and every time a reporter asked him anything, he would come back with the same message. So in other words, media training will tell you, no matter what the journalists ask you, you have one answer that you want to tell. So you will find a way to take their question in such a way, but answer what you want to answer. And he won the election by a majority.
Okay.
And he was the youngest guy in the election, and nobody thought he'll win.
Okay.
But he stuck to his message. So sometimes you have a message, the media will ask you anything and everything in the world. But you notice the great people who are being interviewed, they have their main key message, and somehow or the other they'll keep coming back to it. and find a way to answer what they want to answer. So in other words, they're answering the question they want to answer, not what the reporter is asking them. Because the reporter can trigger you and try to get you off track.
Okay.
But people who have their own message and their own brand are able to stick to that.
In situations whereby you don't really know to respond and it happens, what's the polite way, without necessarily showing like you're arrogant, to respond to media in a manner which keeps your credibility, but at the same time communicating with authenticity?
Yeah, so bottom line is not to lose your cool.
Okay.
When you get angry and you react, that's defensive, and that shows that you're now losing your cool. Something they've said is going to trigger you, right? So don't lose your cool. You can only answer what you want to answer. Sometimes people answer by saying no comments when there's legal issues, and the lawyer will say, don't talk too much, because if you talk too much, it can be used against you in court. Evidence. So people talk less and say no comments, right?
Okay.
But that's one way. Or again, coming back to when they ask you a question, you have the mic now, so you can say what you like. So you can even take back to your brand and talk about something different, because that's how you want to answer. So there are ways you can you don't stoop low enough to always respond to journalists, because sometimes they can be mean. Sometimes they can say things that just to make you angry and respond negatively, right?
Okay, I have an experience in dealing with the media, and this thing we call post-reporting management. Sometimes you speak one thing, they report another thing. Okay, and you have to put the records clear. What is the best approach? So if somebody has lied on what you said, now what happens, with media, the more you start countering them, the worse it gets, because now it's big deal. And people didn't know about it, start to know about it. So sometimes, you have to either just let sleeping dogs lie, and then it's gone and nobody knows about it. The more you start fighting, there was a case in Canada where this Olympic winner, or the one who won the Olympics for Canada, was accused of malpractice with kids many years ago. So reporters said something, and he countered so bad, and the reporter countered bad, and it just went on and on and on. Eventually, even he was proven innocent, but by the time the story was finished, he has completely tarnished his reputation. So sometimes, you let things slide. Maybe has less damage. I mean, there's no one right answer, but you got to assess the pros and cons of making it a big deal or letting sleeping dogs lie, and making sure that people know you're authentic. So one bad story will not tarnish your reputation unless you make it a mountain out of a molehill, right? And what is the best practice if you receive a call like Paul, you're supposed to attend, that like the TV interview or press conference? What are the things I need to prepare before I go for an interview? The first question you ask yourself is, why am I going? What is the benefit for me to go? If there's no benefit for you to go, you can decline. I'm tied up. You go because either you want to defend a position if you feel that's appropriate. You go because you want to promote your brand. Some people say that all media attention is good, because even if it's bad media, you still get publicity. Free publicity. So you have to assess the reason why you're going. Yeah, and if you feel that that going will enhance your publicity, enhance your brand, defend your position in terms of what has happened where somebody has not said the truth, then you go. But if you feel it's going to be something that is going to tarnish your reputation because they'll put you in a spot where you can't get out, then of course it's your choice. Usually you go because it gives you publicity and it's good for the brand, but it's still a choice you have to make, right? And you have to ask the question, what is the purpose of me going? I'm going to spend time going there. What is it going to do to my positive brand promotion? And what are the other consequences adversely, if any? If you seriously mess up, like you really mess up, and the potential for defamation, how best can someone position himself against what's about to happen? So it's something which has already happened or is about to happen? If something you've said... You've already said. Okay. So in which case you apologize, in terms of, people are forgiving. When Bill Clinton had the issue with Monica Lewinsky, it was a big scandal, big thing. But the moment he said, I'm sorry, I erred, and I'm human, and this and the other, people after a while forgive him because he's a president, but he's still human, right? So the issue is, at some point you have to own up and say, I'm sorry, I messed up, I made a mistake.
and everybody is supposed to make a mistake. And people are then quoting the Bible by saying, you can only throw a stone at somebody if you are completely pure and never made a mistake. Otherwise, don't throw a stone at somebody else.
Mistakes,
we all make mistakes. So, I mean, people do eventually forgive people for errors, but even if somebody defends and argues that I've never done and all that and makes it, then of course it can backfire because now you're lying.
And for people like you who are famous, celebrities and political figures, in which everything you do is a big deal and news for the media, and you have your own privacy. If you have your privacy has been invaded, what is the best way to deal with it?
So I think the first thing is if you are in a position of power, you're in a position of influence, then you have to maintain that in private and in public. You can't be one figure in public and another figure in private.
Otherwise, something fishy will happen.
So I think the idea is that if you're authentic, then you can be yourself. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody expects perfection, but you have certain standards and you try to maintain them. And as long as you maintain those standards, the chances are nobody's going to point a finger at you. And even if they do point a finger at you, enough people know about you and have had engagement with you and interactions with you to know that I don't believe this of this person because this person is of high integrity.
And nowadays it's very difficult to run away from media. So how best can someone or organizations build their relationships with the media in a manner that they work together as friends, as colleagues, as opposed to people who target each other?
Yeah, I think the key is to build a relationship with media. So, for example, if I'm an expert on the synergy of business violence beyond, and if media knows about it, anytime there's an issue, there's an issue of balance, the issue of a breakup of relationship, they know who to go to because they know I have an expert who makes sense, has some credibility, and they will go to you. So you make yourself available. In that case, you go and go out of your way to respond to them, even if you're busy, because they can trust you to rely on you to make a comment, a wise comment on a situation which is required, right? Okay. So I think that's also important because now you're building a relationship where they know who to go to, and they're always looking for good content.
And for big organizations whereby they have so much to communicate, is it the best approach to use PR officers to communicate the affairs of the company, or to demand the leader to communicate the same? Or what levels are there? This matter should inquire maybe the PR, this matter should be the boss, this matter should be the head of the department. What should be the model?
Well, I think there's no one answer, but ultimately some people have agency that manage their PR, right? Then the agency help them. The issue is where the expertise lies. First of all, there should be clarity in the organization. Who are we? What are we about? What does our brand stand for? Everybody should know the brand, what it stands for. And everybody should behave in alignment with the brand. Because if I'm talking about business balance beyond and all my staff are imbalanced and don't have any meaning, then your brand has no purpose, right? So even if I have the best agency in the world, when people interact with my people, they will find something is not right. So it has a misalignment, right? So the alignment starts with everybody in your team. As a leader, you need to know your brand and to behave in alignment with the brand. And then if you hire PR agencies or agencies, they support it.
Okay, they just support.
Yeah, you can also have an internal team as well, but it shouldn't be one trying to compensate the other. It's like you're building a brand with all the agency communication, but when people interact with you, they see a completely different brand, and there's a misalignment. Eh?
In a situation where somebody came up from nowhere within your company and speaks something nonsense, before the media, and you're not aware, and it's part of your team, maybe your subordinate or just somebody who wants to make news or to get popularity, how do you handle it?
So I think it's damage control now, right? Somebody has said something which is damaging, and you've got to find a way to minimize the damage. And of course, go back to your training of your people to make them realize what we convey and what we don't convey, and what we stand for and what we don't stand for, and who communicates and who doesn't communicate. So you have this kind of dialogue with the people, and hopefully you've done it before and somebody probably has goofed up, but then you decide what consequences this person should face if they already knew about the company policy or the company approach in terms of media discussion.
Okay, in your experience, how do I know which messages to communicate to the media and which not to communicate in my business?
Yeah, so I think the more clear you are about your business, so for example, in my case, as I mentioned to you a few times about my mission, the mission is very clear. We are in a business to unleash the power within of leaders at all levels, to create synergy of business, balance and beyond, because there are 3 issues we have found in all leaders, and with the purpose of having material abundance, because people go into business for profit, not for anything else, but blended with purpose, meaning, passion, and happiness. Okay, that's your purpose, and everything you say, everything you do, if I talk about goal setting, it has to align to this. If I talk about transformation leadership, it's aligned to this. If I talk about building relationship and trust with customer, aligns to this. If I talk about time and self-management, aligns to this. If I talk about change management, aligns to this. If I talk about power of giving in business and life, aligns to this. So everything you talk about ultimately has to align to your core message. If it doesn't align to your core message, why are you doing it? It doesn't fit into your brand, right? So when people are clear about that, and even if we get requests from customers to do things, you have to know what to say yes and what to say no to. If this is something they're asking that is not aligned to your brand, if something you cannot do well, if something you cannot wow a customer, why take it?
Thank you so much, Azim. This is awesome, and I think you have got a lot of experience in handling the media. So we'll go for the short break and then I'll come back again and continue.
I'm very happy. I think I'm happy for many reasons. Number one is I do what I love to do. Spend more than half your life in work, and if your work doesn't fulfill you, then it's a big problem. So whatever we're chasing, ultimately we're chasing to find happiness. So it has to have a purpose, it has to have a meaning, and when you have some meaningful life, which has passion, which has purpose, which is making a difference, you find that inner feeling of happiness.
Welcome back to Masterclass series. I'm R.K Mashauri and I'm still with Azim Jamal, and the topic is handling the media. Azim, nowadays everyone is a journalist. If you've got a telephone, a mobile phone, you can simply become a journalist. You can communicate what you see, kind of photos and share. And even TVs and newspapers sometimes take information from the Facebook, Twitter, and all the social media space. Now I want to ask you, how much is needed for someone to take advantage of social media instead of this social media take advantage of him?
So you can see it's a very powerful medium to reach many people, because people follow your Twitter, follow your blogs, follow your Facebook, follow your LinkedIn. So the idea is that through those mediums, you can multiply your reach. If my friend Brian Tracy has a 1 million database and he's sending something, information out, 1 million people get it, even if half of them read it or a quarter of them read it, is a lot. If he's selling something, somebody's going to buy it. If they like it, they're going to tell somebody else. And it just goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of reach one could have towards the social media, and there is some benefits around it. But just like where there are benefits, there are some drawbacks.
Okay.
And the drawbacks are that sometimes you can be so consumed by that you lose your own life, because all you do is you're caught up by everybody sending stuff to you with WhatsApp, with this. So you never have time to yourself, because everybody can access you in some way or the other. So you live in a 24/7 lifestyle, which can mess your balance out, right? And sometimes also make you do things which seem to be very attractive, but so time consuming that the ROI, the rate of return or rate of investment, return of investment, becomes very minimal, or even negative for that matter.
I've met some people who complain, and they say we attended some interviews, job interviews, and these guys, before proceeding with the interviews, they have to Google and see what are you doing in social media. And if they are not comfortable enough with your presentation on social media, you're considered not fit for the job. Do you think this is professional, or it's abuse of?
Well, I think if you think about it, that whatever you see in the social media or in the internet is something you've done. So if you're not a good person and it shows there, then I mean, if you're an employer, you want to know who you're hiring. Because if you see somebody naked on an interview or something, and then they want to come and have a job with you, you're worried, right? What is this person going to do in our office, right? So obviously you got to be careful what you do. Now there's no privacy. Anywhere people can catch you. Yeah, so you have to be careful how you handle yourself in terms of the behavior, because it could have a ripple effect on you.
Azim, there are some exceptional cases whereby you find very privately, maybe you have your own photos, not for public consumption, in your mobile phone. On one or another, somebody get the photos and he gets them public. Or sometimes maybe you used to be your friend and maybe you are no longer friends and things do not work. And so as to, make sure that people take you negatively, they may spread the photos in social media. If this happens, what are the best approach to contain it or to live with it?
It's a very serious business, because serious situation, because people have committed suicide because people are bullying people or putting them on the social media and promoting things which are so derogative for people. They can't handle it, and there have some instances where people have committed suicide because they've been spread out everywhere and now they can't face the world, right? So it can be very detrimental. So the only advice you can give people is to be careful of what they're sending out there, and don't trust anybody with things that you don't. If you're not proud about something, why do you have those? Just destroy them, because if you don't want people to know, then either don't do those things or don't let people have it, because you don't know whom to trust with these things. And with the power of social media and internet, you can go viral like crazy, and then you have to either have a mask to wear or change your whole appearance to get away from it.
Yeah. And how do you advise companies in terms of what to communicate through social media and what not to?
Yeah, I think ultimately they want to communicate to social media anything and everything which aligned to their brand. And to ask themselves, why are we communicating it? How does it benefit us in our business? And anything that is detrimental to our business and to our brand, we stay away from it.
And in a situation whereby you communicate your brand and people start, throwing all the complaints before everyone else, before the competitors, that the brand is not perfect and this issue, this is my experience. Don't you think it works now negatively and it may one another affect the business?
Well, that's why it becomes a level playing field. If you go to a hotel and hotel don't look after you, people are going to post a review. And so if I'm going to go and stay in a hotel, I look at the reviews. And if the reviews are bad, I don't go there. So it forces companies to treat the customers right, because they know the customers have power to fire them and even to degrade them in terms of their service. Nowadays, any hotel you go to, you will never go to a hotel without looking at the reviews. So who's giving the reviews? The customers. And how they give reviews? Based on their experiences. So the hotel can say we are 5-star, we're the best. But when you look at the review, that's what what are the customers saying? Because I don't trust the hotel. They can promote their own stuff because they want business. But these are the guys who are telling us, they have no reason to tell us because they don't own the hotel, they don't make money or lose money, but they are sharing their experiences. And that's why it forces you to give super customer service. It forces you to walk your talk. It forces you to say things that you deliver and not just say it and then not deliver.
Let's come back to writing. If I'm in a position of power and I'm told to write press release before the company organization, what are the fundamentals?
So this writing is another kind of skill, right? From speaking. And sometimes less is more. Saying less things which are clear, succinct, poignant, which hit the message quickly. Because you know what people are, right? They look at headlines. How many people read everything? You get a newspaper, they look at the headings. Nobody reads the whole thing. So what's your headline going to be? So if you're saying something, say it in the first sentence or second sentence to grab people's attention, because they might not read the third sentence, so forth. So whatever you want to say has to hit quickly. Some people write like 20 pages of notes, and who's going to read it? No, even the executives, they only have time to read one page. And so if you're putting something in the media, keep it short, succinct, poignant. And then if you want to read more, you can have something as a, look for more information, go to this link or whatever. But in the beginning, hit them hard. Even if you're having a live interview in media, or keep it short and tight. Because people's attention span is very low, especially in media, whether it's newspapers or TV or radio.
In some societies, people trust so much print media, and whatever is written in print media, like newspapers, people take it as it is. In a situation where you have to engage, or have been engaged by the print media guys, maybe newspapers, famous magazines, what is the best way to work with them in a manner which do not distort your brand. Because even if the news comes out, maybe negative news, even if you go and say this is not true, but people have read it, maybe a small percent will read the next paper to find out it was wrong, and people have already read it. What do you think is the best way to make sure that your brand is not distorted by the print media?
So I'll give you an example. Recently, one of my clients had a very bad publicity on the newspaper. So he phoned the journalist and said, where did you get this information from? Because what you put down is totally inaccurate, and gave him some facts and figures and proof of why he had done wrong.
Okay.
And this journalist was fair by saying, sorry, I didn't realize this. What can I do to compensate it?
Okay.
So then, he interviewed him to give the other side of the whole story.
Okay.
And they published it right in the front page of the business section.
Okay.
And so the write-up was about the positive side of what had happened. So in some way, my client got really good exposure with a very good story about his project, which he's trying to sell, and to compensate what happened badly. So bad things happen. How do you turn a minus into a plus? Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can make a plus out of a plus. It takes a wise person to make a minus out of a plus.
So how you manage it.
Anytime bad thing happens, ask yourself, what is the thing I need to do, and what do I need to achieve? What is my goal here? And not losing sight of your goal. Now,
people undermine the power of images, and sometimes you wonder, a big brand, and you can't really find good images about that brand. But when I Google Azim Jamal every day, I see the smiling Azim, I see Azim who is living the Copper Sufi brand. Share your experience and advise companies how powerful images are when it comes to media.
See, if you look at a newspaper, there's no photograph. All the print doesn't give you much. There's one photograph, everybody's going to see the photograph. They'll see Paul Mashauri on the photo, they'll know right away. There's a write-up for 4 pages about Paul Mashauri, but no photo. It's not going to have the same impact because people have no visual. So you can see the power of visual, right?
So it is important, for instance, to maintain a number of pictures in the business.
Absolutely. I mean, if the newspaper gives you half a page, make 3/4 of the half page a photograph and let the other stuff be the key points, right? Instead of the other way around. Because people will see the photo.
And get the message.
And at least they relate to the brand.
Okay, let's talk about interviews now. You do a number of interviews and they have an experience. If you're starting an interview, maybe the questions are not necessarily something which you are able to respond to, or you can't answer the questions perfectly. How should one behave in that situation? And it is live when people are watching you, everyone is expecting you to respond. How does it work? You have good experience into that. Maybe you can share.
So if the question is very simple and I don't have an answer, and I don't want to look stupid, usually you tell the truth. I don't know the answer, and it's an acceptable answer.
Okay.
If the question is so simple, and if you don't know the answer and you look stupid, then you're in trouble, right?
Okay.
But one of the techniques I think is very useful is to repeat the question the person said. So if you ask me a question and I don't have an immediate answer, I repeat what you said. Paul, if I understood you correctly, your question is this. And by the time you go back and forth, I already got my answer by then. Because I didn't have an immediate answer, but I have a response. But by doing this little exercise, gives me some breathing space to come up and conjure my answer.
And what if you have the pushy host, those kind of hard talk hosts who are getting you to the corner?
Yeah, repeat the question. Is your question this? Is that what is correct? And he said, yes, it's correct. So she said, then you say, oh, do you mean that, right? And then, by that time, you already collected your thoughts and then able to respond to the question. But the key is not to lose your cool. And not knowing an answer is acceptable because nobody knows everything.
In a situation whereby you have a host who is dodgy, who is not necessarily active in the show, is it good to take your space and communicate what you think is necessary, or you have to have a breathe and come back, not necessarily to be seen like you're so much into it more than even the host? How is it?
Well, you have an objective, you have a goal in an interview. Every interview has a goal. Okay, so you have your goal, and if the interviewer is not making you achieve your goal, you take the goal and you achieve it, right? So you start answering or talking about things that you want to talk about without making it, because the other person is not doing it.
Okay.
So, and what do the customers care? What does the viewers care? To get the content. So either he can make you get the contact from you, or you get your contact down, right? But you can't lose the opportunity of a good interview and not say what you want to say and not meet your goals.
And what if you are in an interview whereby you have your competitor, for instance, a political interview, and your competitor is there, maybe another candidate who is trying to outshine you, or sometimes use languages which try to belittle you. How should you handle that?
Yeah, so I think the key is to hold your own and not be ruffled by, not be affected by what the other person is saying, but then you come and communicate what you have to offer and who you are, and not necessarily always defend what the other person is saying. And you go back to your core message, right? And hold your own and show that you're not affected by his innuendo or things that he's saying are not true. Okay. Or you can also say, I think my colleague here is saying things which don't have any substance, but rather than me wasting my time and fighting with him on this, let me tell you what we stand for.
Okay. Now let's talk about the strategy. What is the best media strategy that organizations and companies can employ if they have to communicate their brands clearly and achieve results that they're trying to achieve?
So, for example, you need to know your target market. Like, who's your target market, and where do they go? What newspapers do they read? What TV shows do they see? What social media they belong to? Once you have segmented your target market, then you approach the relevant media that's going to hit them. Because if you don't know your target market, if you don't know your message clearly, then you can be all over the place, hitting media all over the place, but you not have the major impact because you're not hitting your target market. Okay.
And if it happens like, it backfires, sometimes you use a particular strategy, it backfires. How do you control?
Damage control, right? You try and minimize the damage. Yeah, you try and minimize the damage. What damages happen? How do we now go back and minimize it so that we're able to have the least negative impact on what is happening?
And what are the biggest challenges I've observed over years?
Sorry?
What are the challenges which you have observed over years
in media?
In handling the media?
Yeah, I think first of all, as you said before, media can distort the information. You tell them one thing and they write something else. And so where did that come from? It's either misinterpreted or the guy just made it up because he felt like I want to sell my news, so if I write this, people will read it. If I write that, it's too boring. So they may do that kind of stuff, right? So those are things that happen, and one has to live with it and find ways to counter-communicate, right? Okay. Secondly, if you're very clear, very succinct, very poignant, very much to the point, and people are listening to you, they can see what you already said. So the media writer will not be able to distort it too much because your message is so clear that most people already understood it. And sometimes viewers or other readers might comment on it by saying what you wrote is not true. I had the interview and he said this and you guys are saying that. So it's reflective credibility because you're not defending, but other people in the market are defending. Okay. Or you could have some people who to try and write for you without distorting the truth and counter the points that some people are making which are not accurate.
Okay. I've seen you writing in media. You're writing in newspapers, and I know some of the presidents and people, back time, even the former Tanzanian president, used to write a lot. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of direct engagement to the media, especially in terms of writing? Because that is an evidence and it stays forever. Yes.
So I've been writing for the Citizen newspaper for the last 4 years. And now when I go to the immigration office, they probably know me. So they know because they read my article. Okay. So you get exposure, people know who you are. You have a brand, you have a respect, you have credibility, and of course when you write, you be careful, you write good stuff, because people judge you by what you write. If your stuff is garbage, then you have a garbage reputation, right? So you make sure that what you're writing has substance, has value, and people benefit from it, so that when they hire you, they know what to expect.
Thank you so much, Azim, because it has been quite insightful. Handling the media is not an easy thing, so this information is very important and critical. My name is R.K Mashauri and you're watching Masterclass series. Thanks for watching and see you next.